Okay, welcome to another movie scene analysis where we look at a particular scene from a famous movie and we pick it apart and analyse it in terms of structure. Remember that paper 1 question 3, the examiner tells us we need to have a cinematic overview of that text. So when we read that text, essentially you've got to think of it like a movie. The examiners also mentioned that if you think of it as a movie and you just change the word camera to focus, you'll do quite well. So we're going to look at this scene from the Hunger Games. This is the scene from The Reaping, where if you've seen the movie, Katniss's sister gets selected and she volunteers as tribute instead. Great movie. I suggest you watch it on any streaming device that's available, but we'll have a look at this particular scene today. Think about structure and how the writer or the director has structured this scene or text to do that. And you can, if you look below in the description, you can read the extract for this from paper 1 question 3, and you can answer the question and submit your responses below. Just click the link, you can write your response there, put your name and your academy in, and we'll have a look at those and even mark them for you. So let's go. Okay, so the scene opens with a focus on this character Effie Trinket. We're immediately establishing the lavishness of this character, the decadence of this character. Look at her makeup, almost the ridiculousness of her as well. The makeup for us as an audience or a reader we'd see as being a little bit over the top, and so it represents the kind of extravagant nature perhaps of characters in the capital. So let's watch on.
Now the time has come for us to select.
Now notice that we shift focus from the character Effie Trinket to the crowd in front of her, and we'll continually shift focus like this. And the reason is that the writer or the director wants to establish the contrast between these two. We've got the immediately establishing the lavishness of Effie Trinket, contrasting with the poverty of these children. Look at their faces. Effie Trinket was excited and excitable. These are obviously nervous and fearful. And also look at the clothing, very plain, lots of greys, lots of whites, and perhaps the white could represent the purity of these young people as they go into battle.
One courageous young man and woman for the honor of representing District 12 in the 74th Annual Hunger Games.
Now notice how close the camera is. We really are zooming in. Now if this was a text which you'll read later, obviously it goes into a lot of description about her, and again that is really because we want to dive into the character herself and what she's feeling, and we want to see it through both their eyes and her eyes, so we can see a contrast in how they experience this scene.
As usual, ladies first.
And obviously the camera now is zooming in on her hand as she reaches for the name. Now obviously this is building tension, and it's about the selecting the hand. Now the hand could be important as well, because obviously hands can represent all sorts of different things. She's obviously got nail varnish on, representing again her lavishness, but also the selection, the grasping, the fact that this whole scene is about selecting someone and picking them out. So we've got that motif perhaps of hands, which could also represent humanity, joining hands together, and the isolation of these characters. Now she holds up the paper here. The paper could be symbolic as well. If you've watched the movie analysis of the movie It, we had opened with a fragile paper, the paper representing the fragility of the boy. Perhaps here the paper could represent the fragility of the teenagers in this scene, particularly of Primrose, which is Katniss's sister. Now again, notice how quiet it is in this scene, obviously creating tension, and writers will do similar things. But as well, notice that we've now zoomed out. We can see on the stage all the kind of important people, and notice how they're distanced from the normal people there. The teenagers are at a distance, and we've also got the guards here. So visually, we're seeing a separation, and writers will do that same thing with the imagery that they use as well. And obviously, the camera will zoom in on Primrose. Look how close we are to her reaction. We're looking at her facial expression here because we want to capture the fear and shock in her face. And then the camera will continually shift, or the focus, if we're writing this, will shift from Katniss to Primrose, from sister to sister, to show their connection as well.
Come on now. Well, come on now.
Now the focus is moving with the character because we're meant to empathize with this character. So the focus shifts along with her on a journey. But also notice the innocence. We've got the white here for the representing her purity. She's wearing pigtails, again representing her youth and her innocence. Look at as well that the focus is zooming in on her, tucking in her shirt, showing just how inexperienced she is and how she's not ready for this task that she's supposed to endure. The focus then shifts to a mother, again to show the contrast in reaction. The mother stands stoic, she doesn't do anything. We can see it from her facial expression. Obviously she's upset, but she doesn't feel capable, and that contrasts with the later expression and reaction of Katniss, Primrose's sister. Okay, so now obviously the camera will, and the focus will shift onto Katniss at this point. But notice as well, from a cinematic point of view, the camera's very shaky, which could represent the kind of rawness of this scene, almost like it's inexperienced, almost like a documentary. Writers will do similar things as well. They might use realistic depictions to create a sense of realism rather than a sense of fantasy. So the writer, look out for aspects of realism. Now, we don't want to write about language, we want to write about structure, but think about how the focus shifts here in a very jolty way, which the writer may also do.
I volunteer as tribute. I believe we have a volunteer.
And then we finish here with the focus zooming onto the sisters embracing, again showing their closeness. And again showing the kind of from the earlier separation that they had in the crowd, now they're close together because of Katniss's sacrifice. So lots and lots of structural devices that we could pick out from this particular scene. So let's summarise our analysis for this scene. So if we were answering this for paper 1 question 3, and the extract for that is available in the description below, just click the link and you can read that scene and answer the question at the top of the screen here. How has the writer structured the text to interest the reader? Always consider it in 3 sections, beginning, middle and end, and you can always split those on the page to help you do that. So at the beginning we immediately establish the lavishness and luxury of the character Effie Trinket. The focus begins with her, but then the focus quickly shifts to the crowd of teenagers to contrast her luxury with their poverty, to show the distancing in society, and that's further emphasized by the stage showing she's higher up and representing how she's higher in status than them. We also have a bit of pathetic fallacy with the greyness, the very grey day representing the depressing mood. In the middle, the focus then narrows to the paper, her hands representing selection, but also the paper representing the fragility of these teenagers. The constant shifts in focus, you could argue, creates a sense of nausea, feeling sick from moving around too much, and that could emulate the feelings of these teenagers. And then the focus narrows to Primrose and the representations of her innocence, the white shirt, the pigtails, the tucking of the shirt. So we get a zooming in on that character, again, so that we empathise with her fear and her shock. Then we end with the embracing and the hugging of the 2 sisters, which contrasts to the earlier distance between them physically. So they were distant from the crowd, but now they've been joined together through this act. So lots and lots to analyse here. Don't forget to click below to submit your responses. And we'll have a look at those, and to request another video that we can analyse as well. You can also watch the 2-minute talk through on paper 1 question 3 to further solidify your knowledge of structural techniques. Okay, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to NET English.